Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Isaiah, and today's a bit of a weird one, to be honest. I actually had the full thing recorded and exported, and I was working on the thumbnail when I was just like, no, I don't like what I said. I'm going to re-record my audio. Luckily, today is a low energy day, so I'm not doing anything fancy for the visuals. It's just me talking today. And part of that is a little ironic because I'm talking about a video game called Shut In, and specifically Markiplier's playthrough of it, because that's how I got introduced to the game. Um, if you haven't heard of this game or you've not seen Mark's playthrough, it is a little indie psychological thriller of sorts, a bit of a horror game, and it's about depression. There's a very simple task: get ready to go outside and get some fresh air. And to do that, you need to brush your teeth and your hair, wash your face, put on some clean clothes, and eat some food. And the game deals with getting to those points in a very straightforward way as far as depression is concerned, though the actual gameplay is anything but, because the entire thing is it's a combination of this person being inside their own head as well as the actual physical tasks being fairly hard to actually do when you are depressed. And all of this comes from the creator's own experience with depression. He mentions it like in the actual like opening dialogue when you first open the game. It's talking about depression and agoraphobia through the creator's depression, his own experiences. And I appreciate that a lot. Not everyone's depression is the same, of course, and I feel like some of the elements are a bit cliche, specifically the old, broken down house being the sort of symbolic and literal representation of this person's mind. But it gets through things in a very accurate manner. One of the reasons I'm talking about Markiplier's reaction specifically is because I've now watched the playthrough twice, and both times when he starts going to the endings, I feel like he kind of misses the point of the endings that he's gotten. I don't know if there are any true good endings where the person's able to go outside and have some fresh air and be okay, but I appreciate the endings that Mark got. And if I never saw any other endings to the game, I would be satisfied, honestly. And this is going to be spoilers, but if you've seen Markiplier's playthrough, and I'm going to be linking it because I'm using his name and his face in my thumbnail and video title, so of course I'm going to give him the credit that is due. If you've seen his playthrough, this is already spoiled, but the first ending he gets is sort of forcing your way outside past the negative voice in your head. And you go out into red and you end up waking up in bed and you're like, oh, that wasn't really worth it, was it? Well, you can try again tomorrow. And the secret ending that he got is about you have done all of these things, you've done really well for the day, but you don't want to go outside. It's okay to go to bed and not be stressed. Both of those feel really realistic. Speaking as someone who literally is having a low energy day, who does not want to leave bed, whose biggest obstacle to everything he wants to do is fear of everything, it's extremely relatable. When I say fear of everything, I mean the act of getting out of bed to even go to the bathroom or get myself something to drink can sometimes seem impossible. I don't know how Briar does it. Briar often gets me these things when they're home for me because they love me and they don't want me to, die. I have to make myself get out of bed to go to the bathroom, obviously, but There's sometimes when all I want to do is disappear into Minecraft and never leave again. I mean, the recording of the video that I have right now, I'm almost done flattening this huge 600 by 600 area in Minecraft down to sea level. And this all started as a sort of coping mechanism because I couldn't handle going out to work and dealing with my depression. It got to the point where I had that mental breakdown in September, and to the point where I make these videos every day, not to become popular on YouTube. Though, when I do, I would love to have a small following and be able to make something out of sharing my experiences and making other people not feel so alone. I'd love for that to happen, but I make these videos every single day, so I'm forcing myself to get out of bed usually and do something. But there's always this wall. Like, I just finished carving 2 lino cuts that I'm going to make myself go and print today. And it took me the better part of a week to actually get out of bed and go carve them. And then when I'm carving, I'm like, I completely forgot how good this feels to carve. Just sitting, listening to YouTube or Netflix and making art. And now that they're finished, I'm terrified of going into the studio and printing them. But I have to get through it because I need to ship them off next week. And I've stopped posting on Instagram because I'm terrified of not being able to do anything. So that feels very realistic, where suddenly the smallest victories, the getting out of bed, brushing my teeth, brushing my hair, which never happens. I don't brush my hair. It's a wreck. Eating food, making myself food that isn't just something that I can snack on, that's not like raw sugar or drinking out of the milk jug directly, pouring myself a glass, cleaning the dishes for Briar. All of these small victories become monumental in my head. And I don't quite think that Mark gets that because he doesn't seem to be the sort of person who deals with this level of depression. I don't know him, obviously. And I know everybody struggles in different ways. I'm sure he has plenty of struggles. You don't become that famous from the background that he has without having at least 1 or 2 identity crises along the way. And he's a genuinely good person. I'm very glad that he played this video game, but I don't think he quite understood that the smallest victories are what helps. But now that I've gotten through that, I want to talk about one of my favorite parts of the game that really hit me hard. And I have to say, Briar was listening to the game while I was watching it. They were playing Animal Crossing, I was playing Minecraft. And we were joking at first that it is just every bit of Briar's nightmares that they tend to have. The bugs coming out of the shower, eating their flesh, that sort of thing is very on the nose for their nightmares. But then, as things kept going, I realized that I was relating to this more and more, and nothing hit me harder than when Mark was able to get into the boarded up room and there's all these eyes staring at you. My persona is literally an eyeball on top of a human head for a reason. And all these eyes were staring at him as he's walking through, and the first thing he sees is a painting that needs to be worked on. So he works on it, and the eyes get angry. So the next time he remembers to not stop, not to dawdle until he gets across some letters. And he's like, oh, I want to see these. And he tries to read them, but they all get angry again, and he dies again. And it's interesting because the items that you could be distracted by are an unfinished painting, your old Nintendo 64, a game of darts, your yearbook, a pile of unread letters. These are all things that, in many, many ways, could be seen as good. Like, there's literally art therapy. Using art to help things is a good way. Hobbies are a good thing. Um, but they also can have a double sided edge to it, with you can get consumed. So, I put this better another way. So, with the painting specifically, you can definitely reach a catharsis with it, but there's this double edged sword where if people are watching you, they may be like, oh, you're not actually that. Or more likely with the creative arts is people like to think that art needs to come from suffering. So you may try to put off your own mental health because the only way that you can reach that abyss is through your trauma and through your mental illness. And I'm going to be referencing BoJack Horseman a couple of times. So there is a very relatable episode in season 6 of BoJack Horseman with Diane, and she is on antidepressants. So she's actually, her mood is stabilized, but she can't reach that trauma she's had to write this book that she's been wanting to write for years and years and years. She goes off her medication and everything gets so much worse. But when she writes something, a middle school lit book about a Vietnamese girl that's also a detective, it comes out. People love it. She hates it though because she's like, all my trauma is for nothing. If I'm happy and I'm writing this, why did I go through all this suffering? And it's very easy to get sucked into that creatively. Um, I dealt with it, but I won't talk with that very much right now. I don't want to. It it digs into a bit of an abyss. The darts, very popular game in bars. So you can have just a fun game, or you can easily end up becoming dependent on alcohol just to numb the pain. That's another very frequent thing. The Nintendo 64 is easy to get stuck in nostalgia and not want to leave because everything's more painful now that you're an adult. Same thing with the yearbook. You can be remembering either extremely bad memories of when everyone hated you, or wonder why things aren't as easy as it was back then. The unread letters. I mean, BoJack Horseman really did it again when BoJack got outed. He outed himself basically as this man who has a tendency to be around young women and kind of ruin them. Hollyhock, his half sister, sent him a letter. He refused to read the letter until he was in a very bad moment, and he read it, and it set off a chain of events that he ended up overdosing, going to swim in a pool, and he almost died. He later ended up in jails, and that helped him a lot. And the ending of BoJack Horseman is him talking about possibly continuing to work with the prison system after he's out, which would be very good for him, give him some structure. He's a man that needs structure, but it's open ended. We don't know if he's going to end up falling back into his old habits or not, especially because the support system has so intensely changed while he was in prison. And I feel like that little snippet of a story from another piece of media really explains those letters. And the eyes are watching you as you try not to be distracted or fall into these holes, and it feels exactly like everyone's judging you, and if you're doing these things they attack you. because how can you be doing these things if you're depressed? How can you go out there and smile and laugh when on the inside all you want to do is curl up into bed and never leave again, or hurt yourself in some way? And I guess that room just hit me the hardest because the eyes, and I've always used eyes in my art. Those are what those eyes are for me, is the people watching and judging, and I don't know if I'm good enough. But that's why I make these videos now, so I can try and remember, even in the worst moments, that everything's going to be okay in the long run. I hope so, at least. But let's get off of that. Shut-In's a very good game. I would love to see the other endings. I would have really loved if the game creator had made some of these processes a little bit harder, like the having to organize your mind shit, with you physically having to pick up each piece of paper and move it. That would have been great. But I understand why he didn't do that. And I hope he's doing okay. I hope y'all are doing okay too. Get something to drink. Stay hydrated. I'll be getting something to drink too once her toilet's fixed, because that's an ongoing issue. Apparently leaves are clogging the pipes, which is always fun. But I hope y'all have a good day. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.